on the EV program there. And it was interesting to watch the attitudes inside the company.
Dealerships across America are hemorrhaging money at an unprecedented rate. Ford alone lost $3.7 billion on electric vehicles in 2024, with losses of almost $60,000 for every electric vehicle sold this past quarter. The nationwide supply of EVs has swelled nearly 350% to over 92,000 units, a 136-day supply that's nearly twice the industry average. While dealers pay massive floor plan interest on inventory that sits for months, they're watching their cash flow evaporate daily. This isn't just about slow sales, it's about financial survival. Ford F-150 Lightning Ford just made the most expensive admission in automotive history by shutting down F-150 Lightning production until January 2025, despite sales jumping 86% this year. The brutal truth behind this decision reveals how badly Ford miscalculated the electric truck market and how dealers are paying the price for corporate delusion. The numbers paint a devastating picture that Ford desperately wants to hide. CEO Jim Farley expects $5 billion in losses for the EV division in 2024 alone, with Ford bleeding almost $60,000 on every Lightning they manage to sell. Think about that for a moment. Ford loses more money on each Lightning than most people make in an entire year. Meanwhile, dealers are stuck holding inventory worth millions while paying crushing floor plan interest costs daily. Ford has a 100-day supply of F-150s sitting on lots across America, with many Lightning models collecting dust for over 4 months. These aren't cheap econoboxes either. We're talking about trucks starting at $63,000 that dealers financed, expecting quick turnover. The situation became so desperate that Ford launched a pilot program offering dealers up to $22,500 just to move Lightning inventory through their new distribution centers. When a manufacturer pays dealers more than $20,000 to sell a vehicle, you know something has gone terribly wrong with their business model. Tesla's Cybertruck delivered the final blow to Ford's electric truck dreams, selling 16,692 units in the third quarter compared to Ford's pathetic 7,162. The Lightning was supposed to be Ford's Model T moment, their breakthrough into the electric future. Instead, it became their most expensive lesson in hubris. Smart buyers can see through Ford's marketing spin about increased sales percentages. When dealers are literally being paid massive bonuses to move inventory, those aren't real sales, they're desperate clearance attempts. Anyone considering a Lightning right now should ask themselves why Ford would halt production of their supposedly successful electric truck. Jaguar I-Pace. Jaguar dealers are bleeding money on 400 unsold I-Pace electric SUVs sitting in inventory, representing nearly 2 full years of market supply at current sales rates. When a luxury automaker can't move $72,000 vehicles for 24 months, you're witnessing a complete market rejection that's costing dealers millions in floor plan financing. The I-Pace disaster started with Jaguar's deceptive range claims that left early buyers stranded and furious. Owners quickly discovered that real-world driving range falls dramatically short of the advertised figures, creating the exact range anxiety that kills EV sales. Internal dealer reports reveal technicians were completely unprepared to service these vehicles, leaving customers with broken $70,000 paperweights and no way to get them fixed. This training nightmare created a toxic cycle where early adopters became walking advertisements against the I-Pace, warning friends and family about buying a vehicle that dealers couldn't properly maintain. Smart buyers started avoiding Jaguar showrooms entirely once word spread about service delays and incompetent repairs on these expensive electric SUVs. The financial reality for dealers has become catastrophic, with each I-Pace costing roughly $200 per day in floor plan interest while generating zero revenue. Multiply that by 400 units across the dealer network, and Jaguar dealers are losing $80,000 daily on inventory that simply won't move. Jaguar's pricing strategy reveals complete disconnection from market reality, positioning a flawed electric SUV at $72,000 when buyers can get superior Tesla Model Y performance for $30,000 less. The company assumed luxury badge engineering could overcome fundamental product problems, but today's EV buyers prioritize functionality over prestige. Anyone considering an I-Pace should ask why 400 of them are gathering dust if they're supposedly desirable luxury vehicles. The massive inventory buildup tells you everything about this vehicle's true market value, and smart money stays far away from 2-year inventory disasters that even desperate dealers can't sell. Lyriq Cadillac dealers are stuck watching $60,000 Lyriq electric SUVs collect dust for an average of 151 days before finding buyers desperate enough to overlook the vehicle's growing reputation as a software nightmare. Despite selling 9,154 units in 2023, the Lyriq has become a cautionary tale about rushing unfinished luxury EVs to market. The financial bleeding starts with floor plan costs that dealers never anticipated when GM promised them a Tesla competitor. Each Lyriq costs dealers roughly $150 daily in financing charges while generating zero revenue. And with inventory sitting for 5 months, that adds up to over $22,000 in carrying costs per vehicle before the first sale. Dealer service departments report constant battles with audio dropouts, mysterious warning lights, and rear vent systems that simply stop working without explanation. These aren't minor inconveniences, they're fundamental software problems that turn luxury car ownership into a frustrating cycle of service appointments and temporary fixes that never solve the underlying issues. Internal dealer reports reveal that Cadillac owners consistently rate their dealership interactions as subpar, creating a toxic reputation that spreads through online forums and social media. When luxury buyers start warning each other about your vehicle, the damage to future sales becomes irreversible, and dealers get stuck holding worthless inventory. The broader context reveals GM's panic about their entire EV strategy, with the company delaying the Chevrolet Silverado EV for another full year due to waning demand across their electric lineup. This isn't confidence in their technology, it's acknowledgement that they rushed products to market before solving basic reliability problems. Smart buyers can easily spot the warning signs when a supposedly desirable luxury SUV sits on lots for 5 months. The Lyriq was positioned to compete with Tesla's premium offerings, but instead it's teaching dealers expensive lessons about what happens when manufacturers prioritize launch dates over product quality. Genesis G-60/G80/GV70. Electric Genesis dealers are hemorrhaging money on electric vehicles that sit unsold for an average of 190 days, costing them millions in floor plan financing, while buyers consistently choose Tesla over these supposedly premium Korean alternatives. The financial devastation becomes clear when you examine the electrified G80 sedan, where Genesis managed to sell only 18 units out of 210 in stock nationwide during a 30-day period in June 2023. That pathetic sales performance translates to a 350-day supply of $82,000 luxury sedans that nobody wants to buy, creating a financial disaster for dealers who invested heavily in Genesis electric inventory. Each unsold G80 cost dealers roughly $220 daily in financing charges, and with nearly a full year of inventory sitting stagnant, we're talking about over $80,000 in carrying costs per vehicle. The fundamental problem destroying Genesis EV sales is Tesla's charging infrastructure dominance, which makes cross-shopping these vehicles a losing proposition for buyers who understand long-distance travel requirements. Smart customers quickly realize that owning a Genesis electric vehicle means accepting charging limitations that Tesla owners never face, effectively making these cars second-class citizens in the EV marketplace. Genesis positioned the GV60 at $52,000, assuming their tech-forward interior and luxury appointments would justify the premium over Tesla's Model Y. But buyers consistently choose proven charging reliability over Korean luxury features. Internal dealer reports reveal that most Genesis EV shoppers ultimately walk away after researching charging networks, leaving salespeople frustrated and inventory gathering dust. The broader Korean luxury strategy has crashed against the harsh reality that electric vehicle success requires infrastructure partnerships, not just attractive styling and premium materials. Genesis created beautiful electric vehicles that function perfectly until you need to drive more than 200 miles from home, at which point the charging disadvantage becomes impossible to ignore. Anyone considering these Genesis EVs should ask why nearly a year's worth of inventory sits unsold if they're truly competitive luxury alternatives. Nissan Leaf. Nissan dealers are stuck watching 2,626 Leaf electric vehicles collect dust for an average of 161 days, despite the $33,000 price tag that should make these cars attractive to budget-conscious EV buyers. The financial reality for dealers has become brutal, with each unsold Leaf costing roughly $90 daily in floor plan interest while generating zero revenue for over 5 months. The tragic irony of the Leaf's collapse lies in its pioneering history as the first mass-market electric vehicle after its 2010 launch, when Nissan owned the affordable EV market and dealers couldn't keep them in stock. Fast forward to today, and the same vehicle that created the modern EV market has become an outdated relic that even desperate dealers struggle to sell at steep discounts. Nissan's official confirmation that they're phasing out the Leaf reveals the company's acknowledgement that their former flagship has become a liability rather than an asset. Internal dealer reports show that customers consistently choose newer competitors with longer ranges and modern features, leaving Leaf inventory to accumulate while more advanced EVs fly off neighboring lots. The technology gap has become impossible to ignore, with today's EV buyers expecting charging speeds, range capabilities, and software features that the aging Leaf simply cannot deliver. Supply chain issues that restricted availability during crucial growth periods allowed competitors to capture market share that Nissan may never recover, turning their early advantage into a devastating disadvantage. Smart buyers can easily recognize a dying product when the manufacturer publicly announces phase-out plans while thousands of units sit unsold across dealer networks. The Leaf represents the brutal pace of EV evolution, where yesterday's breakthrough becomes tomorrow's bankruptcy risk for dealers who invested in outdated technology. Anyone considering a Leaf should understand they're buying a vehicle that even its own manufacturer has given up on, with limited future support and plummeting resale values that make financial sense only for buyers who never plan to sell. BMW dealers are facing a financial catastrophe with the iX electric SUV, watching sales crash by 24.8% in 2024, as the company shipped only 38,365 units compared to the previous year's already disappointing numbers. Each unsold iX represents over $85,000 in dealer inventory financing, creating massive carrying costs for vehicles that luxury buyers are actively rejecting despite BMW's premium reputation. The financial bleeding intensifies when you consider BMW's shocking admission that they won't develop a second generation of the iX, instead planning to replace it with an entirely different iX5 model by 2026. This revelation makes current iX inventory essentially dead-end products with no long-term future, forcing dealers to sell vehicles that even the manufacturer has abandoned before their official retirement in June 2028. Internal dealer reports reveal that the iX's polarizing design has become a sales killer, with potential buyers consistently choosing more conventional luxury SUVs or switching to Tesla models that offer similar technology without the controversial styling. The competition in the luxury EV segment has intensified dramatically, leaving the overpriced iX struggling to justify its premium positioning against more attractive alternatives. BMW positioned the iX as their electric future flagship, but the market has delivered a brutal verdict on their strategy of charging luxury prices for questionable design choices. Dealers who invested heavily in iX inventory are now stuck holding expensive vehicles that depreciate rapidly while costing hundreds of dollars daily in floor plan financing charges. The broader lesson reveals the massive risk of betting on electric vehicles without ensuring genuine market demand, as even established luxury brands like BMW can create expensive failures when they prioritize corporate vision over customer preferences. Smart buyers can easily spot the warning signs when a supposedly premium SUV experiences collapsing sales and gets abandoned by its own manufacturer before the end of its production cycle. Ford Mustang Massey Ford dealers are bleeding money on Mustang Mach-E inventory that sits unsold for an average of 204 days, with the current 117-day supply representing millions in floor plan financing costs for vehicles that neither Mustang enthusiasts nor serious EV buyers actually want to purchase. The financial devastation becomes personal for early adopters who bought new Mach-E's in 2021 and have watched their investments lose almost 50% of their value in just 3 years. The fundamental branding disaster started when Ford decided to slap the sacred Mustang name on an electric crossover SUV, creating confusion among traditional muscle car enthusiasts, while simultaneously failing to attract Tesla buyers who prioritize performance metrics over nostalgic badge engineering. This identity crisis has left dealers stuck with expensive vehicles that cost roughly $140 daily in carrying charges while appealing to virtually nobody in the current market. Tesla's aggressive price-cutting strategy delivered the killing blow to Mach-E sales, as buyers quickly realized they could get superior Model Y performance, range, and charging infrastructure for less money than Ford's confused electric crossover. Internal dealer reports show that most Mach-E shoppers ultimately choose Tesla after comparing real-world capabilities, leaving Ford inventory to accumulate while competitors move their electric vehicles efficiently. Ford currently maintains a 130-day supply of Mach-E's as part of their broader EV inventory crisis, proving that even iconic American brands can create expensive failures when they prioritize marketing gimmicks over genuine product development. The company assumed that Mustang heritage would overcome the vehicle's performance limitations against Tesla competition, but today's EV buyers care more about charging speed and efficiency than nostalgic branding. Smart buyers can easily recognize the warning signs when a supposedly hot electric vehicle sits on dealer lots for nearly 7 months while losing half its value in 3 years. The Mach-E represents Ford's expensive lesson in brand management, proving that confused messaging creates confused customers who ultimately buy from clearer competitors. Mercedes-Benz EQS/EQE. Mercedes dealers are hemorrhaging money on EQS inventory that sits unsold for over 221 days, with each 6-figure luxury sedan costing roughly $350 daily in floor plan financing while generating zero revenue for nearly 8 months. The financial catastrophe deepens when you realize customers paid an average of $130,000 for these electric vehicles, making them among the most expensive cars collecting dust on dealer lots across America. The fundamental problem destroying EQS and EQE sales lies in Mercedes' complete misunderstanding of the luxury EV market, where buyers prioritize technology and efficiency over traditional luxury appointments that add cost without improving the electric driving experience. Despite starting MSRP prices around $105,000, these vehicles fail to justify their premium positioning when Tesla offers comparable or superior technology at significantly lower prices. The EQE sedan launched in 2023 with a respectable 305-mile range, but even decent specifications couldn't overcome the harsh reality that today's luxury EV buyers care more about charging speed and software capabilities than hand-stitched leather and wood trim. Internal dealer reports reveal that most potential buyers quickly abandon Mercedes electric vehicles after comparing real-world performance and pricing against Tesla alternatives. Mercedes assumed their luxury badge would command premium pricing in the EV segment, but this strategy has backfired spectacularly as dealers watch $100,000 inventory accumulate while more practical electric vehicles sell efficiently. The company's disconnect from EV market realities has created a financial nightmare for dealers who invested heavily in ultra-premium inventory that appeals to an increasingly tiny market segment. Smart buyers can easily spot the warning signs when supposedly desirable luxury sedans sit unsold for over 7 months, despite massive dealer incentives and price cuts. The EQS and EQE represent Mercedes' expensive lesson that traditional luxury positioning means nothing in the electric vehicle market without competitive technology and reasonable pricing. Audi Q4 e-tron/Q8 e-tron. Audi dealers are stuck watching Q4 e-tron and Q8 e-tron inventory accumulate for well over 100 days, costing them millions in floor plan financing on vehicles priced so high they're automatically disqualified from the $7,500 federal tax credit that makes competing EVs affordable. Each unsold e-tron represents roughly $200 daily in carrying costs while generating zero revenue, creating a financial nightmare for dealers who believed German engineering prestige would overcome these fundamental market disadvantages. The Q8 e-tron's shorter driving range compared to Tesla competitors has become a sales killer as buyers quickly realize they're paying premium prices for inferior technology that limits their travel flexibility. Internal dealer reports reveal that most potential customers abandon Audi electric vehicles after comparing specifications and discovering they can get better performance and charging infrastructure from Tesla at lower total costs. Audi's fundamental miscalculation lies in assuming that traditional German luxury positioning would translate to electric vehicle success. But today's EV buyers prioritize charging speed, range capabilities, and software features over heritage brand prestige. The company invested heavily in developing these premium electric SUVs only to discover that legacy luxury brands can't simply transition their combustion engine success to the electric marketplace without competitive technology. The charging infrastructure limitations have created additional barriers for potential e-tron buyers who recognize that Audi's charging partnerships can't match Tesla's supercharger network convenience and reliability. Smart buyers understand that owning an Audi electric vehicle means accepting second-class charging status compared to Tesla ownership, effectively making these vehicles inferior choices despite their premium pricing. Dealers who invested heavily in Audi e-tron inventory are learning expensive lessons about how electric vehicle buyers evaluate purchases differently than traditional luxury car shoppers. The harsh reality shows that German engineering reputation means nothing when buyers can get superior electric technology and charging convenience from competitors who prioritized EV development over legacy brand management. GMC Hummer EV GMC dealers are hemorrhaging money on Hummer EV inventory that sits unsold for well over 100 days, with each six-figure electric truck costing roughly $300 daily in floor plan financing, while appealing to a vanishingly small market segment of wealthy buyers who want electric status symbols rather than practical transportation. The financial devastation becomes clear when you realize these vehicles cost more than most people's entire houses, yet they're collecting dust on dealer lots across America. General Motors invested billions developing this electric behemoth based on the flawed assumption that wealthy enthusiasts would pay over $100,000 for an electric truck that prioritizes ego over efficiency. But the market has delivered a brutal verdict on this strategy. The Hummer EV's massive size and weight create fundamental efficiency problems that make it impractical for daily use, while its supertruck positioning appeals to such a tiny customer base that dealers struggle to find even one buyer per quarter. Internal dealer reports reveal that most potential Hummer EV customers ultimately choose more practical electric vehicles that offer better range, lower operating costs, and reasonable pricing for their transportation needs. The vehicle's impressive off-road capabilities and massive battery pack can't overcome the harsh reality that buyers want electric vehicles for efficiency and environmental benefits, not expensive bragging rights. The fundamental problem lies in GM's decision to create electric vehicles for corporate ego rather than customer practicality, resulting in inventory that costs dealers thousands in daily carrying charges while generating zero revenue for months at a time. Smart buyers can easily recognize the warning signs when a supposedly desirable electric truck sits unsold, despite massive dealer incentives and price cuts. The Hummer EV represents everything wrong with legacy automaker EV strategy, prioritizing flashy marketing over genuine customer needs and creating expensive solutions to problems that don't actually exist in the real electric vehicle marketplace. Hyundai Ioniq 5/Kia EV6. Hyundai and Kia dealers are bleeding money on Ioniq 5 and EV6 inventory that stacks up on lots because government protectionist policies exclude these excellent Korean electric vehicles from the $7,500 federal tax credit that makes competing domestic EVs affordable. Each unsold vehicle represents roughly $150 daily in floor plan financing costs, while the tax credit disadvantage effectively prices them out of competition before customers even consider their impressive specifications. The financial devastation becomes personal when you realize these are genuinely among the best electric vehicles available today, offering excellent fast charging capabilities, modern design, and competitive pricing that should make them market leaders. Instead, dealers watch superior Korean technology collect dust while inferior domestic EVs sell efficiently, thanks to government subsidies that artificially manipulate consumer purchasing decisions. Internal dealer reports reveal the bitter irony of trying to sell vehicles that deliver better real-world performance than their subsidized competitors, but cost customers $7,500 more due to political considerations rather than product quality. Smart buyers understand the technology advantages of these Korean EVs, but most ultimately choose financially subsidized alternatives that offer lower total ownership costs despite inferior capabilities. The fundamental problem lies in government policy that prioritizes domestic manufacturing over consumer choice and product excellence, creating a marketplace where politics matters more than engineering quality or customer satisfaction. Dealers who invested heavily in Ioniq 5 and EV6 inventory are learning expensive lessons about how protectionist policies can turn excellent products into financial disasters. This situation represents everything wrong with government intervention in free markets, where bureaucratic decisions about tax credits override consumer preferences and product merit. The tragedy is that both vehicles offer technology and charging capabilities that exceed most domestic alternatives, but dealers are forced to watch them depreciate while customers choose inferior subsidized options. Anyone considering these Korean EVs should factor in the permanent tax disadvantage that makes them poor financial choices regardless of their superior technology and design. Nissan Ariya Nissan dealers are watching $40,000 Ariya crossovers collect dust for an average of 161 days, costing them roughly $120 daily in floor plan financing, while the vehicle's ineligibility for federal tax credits makes it nearly impossible to compete against subsidized domestic alternatives. The financial bleeding intensifies when you realize Nissan positioned this as their premium flagship to reclaim electric vehicle leadership, but government protectionist policies have turned their ambitious comeback into an expensive inventory disaster. The tragic irony lies in Nissan's history as the company that pioneered affordable electric vehicles with the Leaf in 2010, only to watch their latest electric effort become another casualty of political considerations that override product quality and consumer choice. Despite offering decent range and attractive styling that should appeal to crossover buyers, the Ariya suffers from the same import penalty that destroys sales for all foreign electric vehicles in the American market. Internal dealer reports reveal desperate attempts to move Ariya inventory through massive price cuts and dealer incentives, but even steep discounts can't overcome the $7,500 tax credit disadvantage that makes domestic competitors more attractive regardless of their actual capabilities. The slower adoption of electric vehicles overall has made the situation worse, as dealers struggle with accumulating inventory in a shrinking market segment. Nissan's fundamental miscalculation was assuming they could compete in the American EV market without domestic manufacturing to qualify for government subsidies that artificially manipulate consumer purchasing decisions. The company invested heavily in developing a genuinely competitive electric crossover, only to discover that political considerations matter more than engineering excellence in today's manipulated marketplace. Smart buyers can recognize the warning signs when a decent electric vehicle sits unsold for over 5 months, despite attractive features and competitive pricing. The Ariya proves that being a good electric vehicle isn't enough when government policies favor competitors based on manufacturing location rather than product merit or consumer preferences.